Hello YouTube, Mr. Miz here. It is Christmas Eve and I thought that since running trains is a tradition in my house and probably in most of yours as well, that I would show you my work-in-progress Lionel K4s. My parents insist on giving my siblings and I and my wife and my brother-in-law money in Christmas. We've tried to argue with them about it, that it's not necessary and all, but that's an exercise in futility. My wife continues to fight the good fight, but to no avail. So they gave us, money for Christmas, and I decided that I would like to pick up a K4s. This is a work in progress. It's not done yet, and it needs some touch-up, but it's something fun that I did, and I thought I'd show you. Quick note for some of the purists. First off, for the Pennsylvania Railroad purists, I know that the Pennsylvania Railroad never numbered a K4s 1113. However, that number is meaningful to me, and since this is, a 264, which is the complete opposite of a 462, I'm going to go with it. Same with the Lionel purist. Yes, I know that they never made a K4s in 1113, but again, that number's, important to me. But, yeah, so I bought this, was it last year, I think? Maybe the year before, I'd have to go look. And I'll pause and maybe put up a picture or two of it as it was when I bought it. And I love this engine. It's a really good little pooler. But I decided to do some work and try and customize it a bit. And I'll probably pause here a minute or somewhere further down the line where it's more appropriate and put some pictures up of the process. So the Pennsylvania Railroad, as I've mentioned in a few of my videos, painted most of their locomotives a color called Brunswick green, which is very dark green, almost black. Depending on the light, this locomotive sometimes actually does look black. Stripping the original black paint initially was quite a pain in the butt. Using regular paint stripper didn't seem to want to come off very well. And finally, what I ended up doing was complaining to my dad about the misery of this process. And he talked to a friend of his who is a fairly big Lionel collector, and suggested using oven cleaner. Now, I don't know if this is something that is universally workable, but at least with the black paint of post-war Lionels, it stripped it down to bare metal almost effortlessly. So once I had it stripped, I primed it with basically, I think it was, to me, a light gray model primer, actually. And a local hobby store near me had paint in Pennsylvania Railroad Brunswick green, which is the color that I used for this, for both the tender and the locomotive, as well as Pennsy Tuscan red. So looking at some pictures, I'd seen that the roof had been painted Tuscan red, as well as the back flat of the tender. So I painted both the locomotive and the shell. I also, there's usually coal laying around along the side of the tracks where I rail fan, so I busted up some pieces of coal and kind of put them on top there and glued them. The heck is that? Well, that's unfortunate. There we go. Glued those down. Probably needs a little more work, but it's okay. So, looking a little bit more at the locomotive itself, it's actually, you know, for post-war, pretty well detailed. You've got your marker lights, the keystone on the front. Along the side you have your air pumps, typical Pennsylvania Railroad sort of oval-shaped sandbox, bell. And on the other side you have your air tanks. And this is one of the Lionels that has the reverse, the eccentric crank, and I just absolutely love watching that thing. It's probably a sign of some problem in my mind. Now, I said this is a work in progress, and it is. I attempted, I don't know if you can see that or not, I actually made 1113 decals. You can kind of see there's a little bit there. Unfortunately, this paint is so dark that it doesn't really show very well. And so I didn't bother even trying it on the other side. I'm going to pause here for just a second. So this is a model of the Excelsior from Star Trek that I made. I set mine up as the NCC 2000 as it was shown in Star Trek 6. But if we kind of zoom in here, you can see there's that pattern of squares and rectangles and such. That is an aftermarket decal that I got from a guy called G-Scale. Or, well, actually no, that's not his name. I don't recall his name right off the top of my head. I'll link to it in the description though. But I bought these decals aftermarket because the plating decals were not available from the main manufacturer, Polar Lights. I think they ran out. But these are really good decals, and so I think at some point I may see about trying to order some if he can do custom work, which I think he does, and actually make 1113 decals, as well as, you know, the big Pennsylvania for the side of the tender, which, you know, I tried that as well. You can potentially kind of see it. It just doesn't show up enough to be noticeable. I tried a couple of different things with that, but it just really wasn't working for me. But enough of that. Let's go watch this beautiful Lionel locomotive run. Alright, so before we run the locomotive, let's take a look at the consist real quick. First up, we have the Lionel 65-400 Shadow Keystone Pennsylvania Railroad boxcar. 6454. And does it say when it was built? It says 645. I don't know if that's really accurate or not. It seems pretty close to the end of the war for them to be making new toys. But then we have the Pullman 6440. I don't know if there's actually coaches or supposed to be, well, if it's Pullman, it's probably a sleeper. And then the 6441 observation car. And these were all gifts for my brother. But again, enough of me blathering. Let's get this thing running.